So now I get the appointment with the genetic doctor and go over my history with her, and we talk about all the different possibilities, and we talk, of course, about the osteogenesis imperfecta, and she gives me a little bit of background on it. So, she said, look, your insurance could take, four, 4 or 5 weeks to approve this test because apparently it's pretty expensive. I think it's like $4,000 or $5,000. So now this was December 2016 time frame. And I said, okay, well, if that's the next thing we need to do, then that's what we need to do. Let's just do it. So she puts the order in, and now, now we're in late January, early February, I think, maybe even been later than that, before I even got word that it was approved. It was basically like 6 to 7 weeks later, which was crazy. Because again, now I'm on a walker because when I was in the hospital, they send a physical therapist to see you, and we talked about me being on crutches, and I did tell her that I did have a couple falls where, one of the crutches or something would catch on the carpet or something, and with what was going on with my hip or my femur fractures, you can't place any weight or afford to be off balance or catch yourself. If you take a stumble step, normally, you just kind of stop yourself with your feet. Well, I couldn't do that because the pain, and this was on both sides, the pain is just debilitating. It's just sharp, like you got shot in the hip or something type pain, and it puts you down. So anyway, they gave me a walker, which was a lot, obviously more stable to use, but anyway, I'm still on a walking device or something to assist me with walking. So I'm still dealing with all that pain and further weakness from that. So I finally get to get the genetics test done, and I'm not even going to go into the story about me trying to get into an inpatient physical rehab center and the challenges that I've been facing with that. That's a whole another issue that I won't even talk about here. So I finally get in to get the test done, which is, again, they just draw blood and they send it off to a genetics lab. And she did tell me that it could take 4 or 5 weeks just to get those results back. So now, now we're 2-3 months later from the time I first saw her to the time I finally get some results. And those results came just now. Today's June 27th. Those results I just got maybe 3 weeks ago. So you do the math on how long all that took. So anyway, the results came back negative, which I guess on one hand is good, but on the other hand is bad because, okay, now what? And before the results came back, I called another appointment with the endocrinologist, and I said, we got to be testing for other things because this just keeps getting further and further and further. It just keeps getting dragged out, and I'm like, what else can we be looking for? We can't be doing this thing one at a time, especially if it's going to take this long. So I had a meeting with an appointment with him, and we talked about the things they've already checked for. Whether it's the cancerous, like I mentioned before, or Paget's disease, or certain other things that may have been the cause, and all those came back negative. So he took some more blood, and we did a urine test. Now this again was about 3 weeks ago, I guess, at this point, maybe 4 weeks ago, and those results came back within a few days, and it showed that my my phosphorus was low in my blood. It was 2.1, I think, and that's the third time it's been low. They started checking that, I think, back when I was in the hospital, according to great. So I got timers and stuff going off on my computer. Sorry about that. So like I was saying, my phosphorus was low in the blood, and my vitamin D and calcium were both low, but they were they give you a scale, they give you a range for each thing, it was on the low end. It was still within range, but they were on the low end of both. But lower than they should be. And but also I had a high phosphorus content in my urine, which means um, my body was wasting urine or was wasting phosphorus through my urine. So he said, well, we need to do more tests. We want to take more blood and we want to do a 24-hour urine test. So he had to get this jug and use it for a 24-hour period, and then you take it back and then they analyze that, because then they're looking for a 24-hour count, 24-hour levels versus just the one-time shot. Pardon the pun. So those results came back, and again, the phosphorus being low, the vitamin D low, calcium low, phosphorus low in the blood, but then the total count in my urine was high still. I mean, and within that range, it was normal, but it was on the high end of the scale. It was just over 1,000, less than 1,100, but over 1,000, whatever the unit of measure they use for that. I don't know. So the next thing for that is, okay, well, what is that, and what could be, what can that lead to, and what could be causing it? So in consulting Dr. Google, like I have so many times over the last couple of years now, there's something called, let me make sure I get this right, hypophosphatemia, which is basically low phosphorus in your blood. And I'm not a doctor, and I'm still learning about all this, but basically, from my understanding, is they can tell how much phosphorus is in your blood and your bones, which supposedly 85% of the phosphorus in your body is in your bones, which is where it's needed, because then it has something to do with absorbing, vitamin D, which you need the vitamin D in order for your bones and body to absorb calcium, something like that. So you need all three to have strong, healthy bones, is the bottom line. So if the phosphorus level in your blood is low, then they can use that as a measure to gauge how much is in your bones. And then at the same time, if it's low in your blood, it's low in your bones. But also if it's high in your urine, then it's low in your bones, because your body's not absorbing and is wasting the phosphorus. It's not absorbing the phosphorus that you get from your normal diet or supplements or whatever have you. But also, not only that, but your body's actually wasting phosphorus out of your bones and out of your body through your urine. So the next step for him is to test why that's happening. So, and that doesn't happen until next week. I go back next week to discuss what needs to be checked next. What could cause it? It could be, from my understanding, it could be a kidney issue. It could be a parathyroid issue. It could be an intestinal or a digestive tract issue. So I'm not sure what they're going to check for, but at this point we know that those three things are an issue. So I'm on new medicine. He's got me on a phosphorus pill and another pill that I don't remember the name of it, but it's basically it's a form of vitamin D, but it's like a synthetic form of vitamin D that I'm sorry, not synthetic. It's like the form of vitamin D that your kidneys actually produce that then gets absorbed into your body. So it's that form. From my understanding, I could be wrong. And then of course I'm still taking, now I'm taking 5,000 units of vitamin D3 and 1,200 milligrams of extended release calcium every day. So going back to the hypophosphatemia, if that is present long enough, it can cause or lead to what's known as osteomalacia, which is known as rickets if you're an adolescent, if you're young, or it's called osteomalacia in adults, which is, essentially it leads to soft bones, which can then lead to fractures, easily broken bones. So I guess the good news is that it's treatable, through supplements or IV treatment, to get those nutrients back into you and bypass your organ and stuff. But the question is, we're still dealing with what's causing it, and apparently all these folks are stumped because they've never really dealt with anything like this that hasn't been so easily diagnosed, or the cause has not been so forthcoming. Um, but that's where we are is